Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, we are into October. It is Halloween season again, and I got a couple things I want to see involving Halloween and the Silo of Screams. You know I participate in that every year. Well, I got wind from John a couple weeks ago that he was doing some more billboards this year, and he's going to put a billboard with my image in it in Waco. So I want to go down and see that. That's supposed to be up today. And then I also went down to Silo of Screams a couple days ago, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that and tell you a little bit about what I did this year. So let's head downtown and look at my billboard. Alright, it's October 9th. I am on the corner of Industrial and Waco, right kind of in the Dairy Queen parking lot, which is what you can see here. And this is kind of where I expected the billboard was going to be. And look at that. It's up. I actually drove by yesterday looking to see if it was up. And this American Bank sign was up yesterday. And when I kind of came over the hill and was headed this way, I kind of thought, oh, okay, well, that one's still up. They haven't got the Silo of Screams up. But as I kind of cleared the way, I did see this from a distance. Oh, yes, it is up. How awesome is that? Now, it's kind of interesting because things have kind of come full circle with me and Silo of Screams, because in 2019, when I was in my first year here, actually the first 5 months I was here, I saw a Silo of Screams billboard about a mile from here, and that was what first made me aware of Silo of Screams. And so it's interesting now that there's another one here, and that I'm actually on the billboard, because, like I said, it comes full circle with me. You may recall in 2019, I did a video called "There's Something Horrible Happening Here," where I did find this billboard and decided to go see it. It was up in Temple, and I knew where Temple was because Temple was where Buc-ee's was, and I'd been there a couple times. And it was also the town where the Pods facility was, that they were having they were holding my pods there, and that was where they were being stored. And I drove up there a few times after I had my kind of falling out with Pods, and made the decision to move everything into a storage locker and just cut all ties with Pods. You remember, my original plan was to leave all my stuff in the Pods until I was ready to move into a house. And it actually made a lot more sense at the end to put stuff into a storage locker, because it cost, probably 1/3 as much to have stuff in a storage locker as it was to have them in the Pods. And Pods just kind of stuck their face in it when they screwed me over after their mistake, because I ended up it ended up costing them a lot more money than it would have to bail them out for their mistake. But anyway, I knew where Temple was, and I made the decision I was going to go up there and see the thing. And that was actually what started the whole thing, because you remember, I was there about an hour or so early, before they'd even had anyone on property. And John came up to me and says, "Oh yeah, we're not even open yet. You're going to have to go back outside and wait. And either that, or we're going to put a mask on you and put you in the haunt." And I thought, well, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. I didn't actually end up that year, but I was interested enough in it where I ended up going the next year, and was invited to do my first video with them. So I think it's really kind of cool that now I'm sort of being honored a little bit by John by putting a picture of me on a billboard in my own hometown. How cool is that? It's funny, my mom said she wanted a picture of me for her Christmas letter, and I still got to do that. Maybe I ought to snap a picture of this and let this be my image here. Yep, I'm famous. Now, a couple days ago, I actually went to Silo Screams to participate again this year. You may recall when I went to the Bell County Comic-Con a couple months ago, I told John at the time that I didn't know how active I was going to be able to be in the haunt this year because the nature of my job had changed. My hours weren't going to be that consistent or predictable. You got to remember, I get off of work at 7:30. That's when my hours are officially over. Silo Scream starts at 8 o'clock, and it's about a 30-minute drive from Waco to Temple. So the only way I was able to really do Silo Screams in the past was that I had to literally be waiting at the time clock when the clock hit 7:30, clock out, run to the car, drive up to Temple, and hope I didn't run into any trains on the way up there, and get in there at the last second before it opened. Now, I was usually in the second or third maze, so that bought me a little bit of time because people generally tend to go through the mazes in order. The first one they hit is Her Wicked Way, then they go into the Incinerator, then they go into the Van Winkle Memorial, and then they go into the Funhouse. Now, I was always in either the Incinerator or the Van Winkle Memorial. So that bought me a little bit of time to get in there because even after they opened the gate, it was still going to be a little bit of time before people hit the mazes that I was in. But this year, I told John and this was before I even got the promotion to the lead that I talked to you about a couple of videos back, when I was just doing the material handler stuff, the work doesn't end until the work is done. This isn't one of those things, okay, it's 7:30, I can blast out of here and it's the next department's problem or the next shift's problem. I have to stay there until the work is done. And more often than not, I'm there until 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that, finishing up the work. And so I just told John at the Comic-Con a couple months ago that I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to come this year. And I said, I did come, it was going to be just kind of on a case-by-case basis. I'd call on the day of and say, hey, I'm on my way up. But I said, don't really count on me. Well, it turns out that we're in the middle of a maintenance interval. And so I was actually able to go up this past weekend and I shot a little bit of footage up there. The part of the maze I'm in is really dark, so it doesn't really work real well for shooting footage, but I shot a couple minutes of footage before when I was getting the mask set up. I'm going to show you that now, and then I'll come back a little bit later and I'll talk to you about what happened there. All right, I'm at Silo Screams for the first time this season. This is actually their 5th night open, but my work schedule has not allowed me to attend up until now. Fortunately, we're on maintenance cycle at work, so I'm here a couple hours early to kind of try and figure out what I'm going to be. I've been told I'm going to be in the Incinerator again, and John's basically letting me kind of pick some of the masks that I want to consider. And so he's got this big bucket of masks that I can use here, and I'm looking at some finalists here. He wants something, the Incinerator is sort of a post-apocalyptic horror theme where people are like, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus, meets the apocalypse or something like that. So it's people that are like, shaving people's faces off and wearing them as masks. And so these are kind of the finalists I'm looking at here. He's pretty horrible, right? And that guy, I could do the Picasso thing that I did last year. That's pretty cool too. And I do kind of like this guy. He's pretty bad too. I don't know. We're going to spend some time thinking about this and see which ones I like. I don't know. Is it me? Yeah, that's a good one too. I like this guy a lot. So I had a real blast these past couple nights. It may be the only time this year I get to go, but like I said, I was in the Incinerator this year, and one of the things that kind of made it nice this year in the maze over past years is that the weather kind of cooperated a little bit. It was actually really kind of nice and cool the last couple days before I was there this week. Usually at this time of year, it's in the 90s and there's no air conditioning in that place. And so that place turns into a sauna. And even if it starts cooling down at night and gets into the, mid 70s or lower 80s, it's still 90 degrees in there. And when you're in costume and when you're acting and it's, there's no air conditioning and no air circulation in there, you can get to the point where you're really sweaty in there. This year, however, like I said, the temperature was in the 70s or low 80s during the day. So it was actually relatively pleasant inside the incinerator at night. And I was actually in two places on the 2 nights. The first night I was just outside of what they call the grinder room, which is where I was last year. And that was in kind of a dark hallway. I got a few good scares there, but the second night that I was there, I was in a really great place. I think I had the most fun I've ever had in a silo. First off, I was in an area that was uncovered, didn't have a roof on it, so there was natural air circulation. It was already a really nice day to begin with. It was nice and cool out. And I was in the best location I think I've ever been in. See, one of the things that you got to do when you're in a haunted house like that is you got to know when the guests are coming. And sometimes, with all the twists and turns in the halls, they know you're there before you know they're there. And it turns out the place I was this time, there was, it wrapped around a couple times before they worked their way over to me. And there was a little hole in the wall where I could see them when they were coming up. And so I could see who was there, see who was in front, see how they were reacting. And it turned out the area of the maze that I had was a really great area in the maze, because if I worked things out right, I could get them twice. See, the best thing about being in a haunted house like that is when you get somebody when you just scare the heck out of them. And, sometimes, they scream or they step back or they literally fall on the ground. They're so afraid. This place gave me a setup twice. There was a jump scare when they came around a corner, because when they're winding in and around, there's one point right before they come to me where it's completely black, and then there's a strobe light that's kind of blinding them. And so they're coming down this hall and they're partially blinded, and I jump out of, and it was a really great place to get a scare. And then, I'm kind of a big guy, and so I get in their face and I'm really kind of creepy and following them along. What you always do is you find the one that screams the loudest, and that's the one you target, because that's the one you're going to have the most fun with. And so I'd follow these people around, a couple of more twists and turns, and then they go into a lidded area where there's a motion sensor that sets off this dog or this animal. I don't know what it is, a dog or a wolf or a werewolf or something that's howling and growling at people. And I also there was a smoke machine there, and I had a little keychain thing on my person that allowed me to trigger the smoke machine. And so I'd follow them into this room, and I knew exactly where they were going to be when they set off the sensor and got the dog growling. And I would synchronize the smoke machine and the lights that came with it at the same instant that they got the dog. And like I said, when that worked perfectly, and it worked perfectly a lot, I got them twice. And so, like I said, I had a blast doing that. I wish I could do this more every year, but unfortunately, with the job, it's not going to necessarily be possible. But I have a blast doing that, and I had a lot of fun this year. I think I had more fun this year doing it than ever before. So, yeah, that was Silo of Screams this year. I still hope I can go up there a couple more times during the season. But it was really fun to see the Billboard. It's kind of a really cool honor to get from John. And I had a blast doing it this year. And I may have a little bit of a different role in the future in the silo. So we'll see how that goes. But until then, I think that's all that I have for now. So I'm going to end this video by thanking you as always for watching. And I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.